This video is going to talk to you about 10 days that you can potentially spend in Guatemala. Guatemala is quite a large country. On the west side it covers the Atlantic, on the right side it covers the Caribbean, and there's a major lake that's very close to Guatemala City itself. So for our 10 days, what we did is I flew into Guatemala City. We spent 2 to 3 days in Antigua, the old city, the old capital, and then we went directly to Lake Atitlan, and we did some island hopping from town to town. So I'm gonna cover in this video the accommodations that we stayed at, the food that we ate, and also the transportation and how we got from place to place. With each kind of tip that I'm going to give you, I'm also going to cover the cost associated with as well. The first destination in our 10-day trip is Antigua. It's the old capital of Guatemala, and it's about a 2-hour drive from the main airport in Guatemala City. This city is known for its cobblestone streets and Spanish architecture left over from past colonial Spain, and it has a giant market that's also worth checking out, where you can find everything under the sun. And as well, you can book day hikes here to go to Volcano de Fuego, which is a very active volcano. You can hike up to the top and spend a night there, and you can watch the volcano erupt, as well as hike up further for a sunrise. The whole city itself is very flat with lots of cobblestone streets, so make sure you wear a lot of good running sneakers when you're walking about. To get to Antigua, you can take an airport shuttle. You can find the airport shuttle as soon as you exit the arrivals area, but do not go outside of the airport. There's going to be a little kiosk that has a sign, and it will explain to you how you can sign up for a shuttle. It's going to be a collectivo, which means you're going to be sharing the taxi with other people, so you may wait a little bit. The price is $13 or 100 quetzales. If you prefer a private taxi, it's a bit more expensive, but then you don't have to wait around. I just waited, and soon enough we found 2 other passengers, and we went to Antigua. What I love about the setup here in Guatemala City is that there's no need to haggle. There's one set price. You just pay inside at the kiosk, and you're not going to get ripped off. The weather pattern in September, which is during the rainy season, is very predictable in Guatemala. Usually in the daytime is very sunny, and by late afternoon there's going to be heavy thunderstorms. So make sure you pack accordingly when you go here. Antigua itself has a giant market, which you definitely should check out. It has everything you need under the sun. There's used clothing, there's food. One restaurant I definitely recommend is Cafe Guadalupe. You can have a nice plate of the meal for 25 quetzales, which also includes a soup. Everything is not on the menu. You just kind of have to know a little bit of Spanish to get by, or use Google Translate. They'll tell you what the special dishes of the day is, and you should just get that thing. If you are buying groceries to cook food for yourself, make sure you haggle for the price of the groceries. Usually you can bring down the price at least 20 to 30%. If they don't agree, you can just walk off to the next vendor. The vendors outside of the market is usually a little bit cheaper than inside the covering. In terms of accommodation, when you're traveling with 2 people, it's much cheaper to just book it through Airbnb. We found this really nice place close to the central market, within a 5 to 10 minutes walking distance. And for the 2 of us, we had a unit all to ourselves in the backside of this courtyard, and it was 50 Canadian dollars for a night, which is about 250 quetzales for one night, which is an amazing deal. We had an amazing view and time here. There's a kitchen inside with our own washroom, and we even had a little kind of courtyard area where we can eat every day in the morning. Antigua is such a touristy town, but it's got its own charms. It's surrounded on both sides by volcanoes. Usually we start our day by just cooking our own food from the groceries that we bought from the mercado. And on this particular day, what we decided to do is go and book our excursion to go climb Mount Fuego. If you go to the top of any building in the town, you're going to be able to see two volcanoes in the background. One is Volcano de Fuego, which is an active volcano that erupts maybe like every 20 minutes or so. And if you're close enough, you can even see smoke or even lava flowing off from the top. The agency we decided to use is called Getaway Adventures, and it includes a 2-day hike, 1 day with a overnight stay on the top of the volcano, and it costs 300 quetzales per person, but we haggled it down to 225, and then we tipped 25 to the guide at the end. There's also a short hike within the city that you can do. It's called Cerro de la Cruz. Walking from the center to here only takes about 10 minutes. And then it's a very short hike at maybe about an hour, and it's not very intensive at all. You're gonna get up to the top. There's a cool monument and really nice vistas of the whole city. For food options, we decided to go to a local restaurant which is called Rincon Antiguano. You definitely have to get to this place earlier in the day, because when they sell out, they don't restock their food. They have a little inside courtyard here, and you just order off the menu. Food costs between 30 to 50 quetzales, and we ordered 2 dishes. I think it was 80 in total. One is a chicken and one is a soup. They were both really good, and so I definitely suggest you come here. They also give you fresh tortillas, which we did not finish, and we just took as snacks for the day. For dessert options, we went with the fried plantains. You can find these stalls inside the Mercado Central, and it's so good at only 10 quetzales. The vendor will usually load it up with cream and sugar, and it's just so good. Another hidden gem is that the seafood market inside the market is really fresh. So we bought a lot of octopus while we were there, and just kind of cooked it ourselves. Octopus costs like $20 a pound. So one of the main attractions of Antigua City is climbing the 2 volcanoes. The volcano, the Acatenango, is the main day trip out of Antigua City. We booked our excursion the previous day, and so on this day we're just getting ready to hike it. So Acatenango is the one on the right here, and then the one on the left is the Fuego. So the one on the right is the one that we're going to be hiking. Usually a bus will come by to pick you up around 9 a.m. It's good to take down the WhatsApp number just in case they can't find you. So we're just waiting here. Before I came over, I brought a lot of winter clothes. So part of the excursions, they will actually provide you with winter clothing, but we knew it was going to be cold up there, so we brought additional down jackets, and that kept us warm throughout the night. The tour company will provide you with cups and bowls, as well as lunch, as well as breakfast, and hot chocolate in the evening, and coffee in the morning. When you arrive at the trailhead, you're going to be taken to an indigenous community where they'll switch you out the equipment. We bought additional tarps to use as additional rain jackets, and we rented these walking sticks for 10 quetzales for the pair. We had a GPS just in case we got lost, but it's if you're following a tour guide, it shouldn't be possible. There's lots of stray dogs around. Here it is. We're getting ready. If you're not too athletic, you can pay additional for porters or a horse to bring up your luggage. It costs 200 quetzales one way for that service. Definitely get these walking sticks, or you can rent the professional ones for a little bit more expensive. I think they were 40 quetzales, but it's quite a steep climb, so you definitely need these walking sticks. Within about 20 minutes, you're going to arrive at this little kind of rest area where you can buy additional food or drinks, and this is going to be the kind of the last major rest stop where you can buy and buy stuff and go to the washroom. The elevation gain in total is about 4,000 meters, but with lots of rest in between. Definitely bring enough food and water for your whole trip, because there's nowhere for you to fill up on water basically, except this first rest stop. Part of the trail is very narrow, so you're going to be going one direction, and if there's lots of other hikers, then there might be a traffic jam and it might take a while to get through. In the first section of the trail, there's going to be some stairs, but as you climb further and further up, the trail gets worse and worse basically. So I did this climb in my Ultra Boost, but I highly suggest you get some like professional hiking shoes. So in addition to the money you pay to the tour company, you also need to pay an entrance fee when you arrive at the beginning of the park. It costs 50 quetzales for one person, and this is paid directly to the park itself. They'll give you a bracelet, and you're well within the limits of the park. There's a trail map that shows you where everything is. We're going to be camping in the middle section here. And then there's an option once you arrive at the camp to do a hike towards Fuego, so you can get closer to the volcano, but it costs extra, and we chose not to do that because it's raining season. There's like rain all the time, so definitely be prepared and pack rain jackets as well as backpacks that are waterproof. If you don't have waterproof bags, what's an easy hack is just use some garbage bags and put your clothes inside of that, and then put that inside your backpack. So it's a quick and easy kind of hack to have a waterproof bag. And there's a couple more of these rest stops along the way. I counted probably like 3 or 4 of these official rest spots where you can see the maps. But the guides, they're quite responsible, and if anybody's falling behind, they'll usually ask the whole group to kind of stay behind a little bit. Dogs will come around periodically, just stray dogs asking you for food. My advice is just don't feed them, because they get used to the tourists, and they're kind of like dependent on you from that point on basically. The guides are quite clear as to when the rain stops, so we packed up our rain gear and continue our hike. At this point it's probably about 2,500 meters above sea level, and some people have already started getting altitude sickness. I was okay at this point, but there was definitely like girls in our group who were like they needed additional time to kind of get used to the high altitude. About 5 hours in is when we arrived at the campsite or base camp, and it's quite sparse, but it's basically like more than I expected. I thought it was going to be more Spartan, but it's actually quite nice inside the tents, and is very warm. They provide you 1 sleeping bag per person, but we actually was able to get an additional sleeping bag, so we were quite warm that night. Because we were like double layered up. And in terms of watching the volcano explode, it just kind of depends on luck. When we were there were lots of fog, so during the daytime we actually couldn't see the volcano explode, and later in the evening we had better luck. It's quite cold up there, so make sure you pack gloves as well as hats. They will provide you that as well, but it's always nice to have a double layer if you have space in your luggage. The guide started a fire in the evening, which was really nice. So we kind of just all chill by the fire and watch the sunset. You're able to see the city down below as well. And I went to sleep by the time this happened, but my girlfriend recorded the volcano exploding later in the evening when the fog cleared up. I also saw this early in the morning when we did the optional hike to see the sunrise. The morning hike is much more dangerous and adventurous than the whole hike the day before, because you're going to be hiking in the dark to catch the sunrise up top, and it's really cold up there. So make sure you like double layer, like triple layer, because it gets really cold up there. So if you want to do the sunrise hike, I suggest you bring your own headlamps, because these are not provided with the tour. So but I think the view up top is definitely worth it. It's just very, very cold, so be prepared for that. When we got up there, we went with 2 other people in our group, and they didn't have as much clothing as us, and they were like ready to go down. So we didn't actually stay up here that long, but we did catch a really amazing sunrise. But it's just really, really cold. So climbing up took about maybe 2 hours, and then coming back down took about 1 hour. So by the time we came back to base camp, it was about 7 a.m., maybe 6:30. And then the guides started making breakfast for us. Definitely the walking sticks come in handy as you're descending because it's quite steep. This is our guy Santos. He's such a great guy. He's just always there for us. And when we got back to camp, a lot of people are still asleep, but I wanted to show you what kind of the facilities around the base camp look like. There's one washroom, and it's quite Spartan. It's kind of like what it looks like. If you're a guy, just going for number 1, I definitely suggest just like a bush somewhere. It's much better. In the morning, our guides made coffee, and you can see a really nice sun coming out as we are getting ready to depart our base camp and begin our descent. One thing I really didn't know about Central America and Guatemala is there's a lot of Jewish people from Israeli coming here after the military service. So we were actually paired with a huge group of Jewish tourists. They were quite nice, but it was kind of hard to make friends when everybody's speaking Hebrew and we only knew English. So if you were to do this guided tour, I would suggest asking about the composition of the group. If you are more social, you want to talk to people. Kind of wish I knew about that before. So coming back, it takes about maybe 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours, depending on our ability, to get all the way to the bottom. You're gonna have a rest break when you get back to this little hut area again. And overall, I would definitely recommend this activity. You just have to make sure to be prepared for the cold up there, and make sure you get walking sticks as you do this hike. So after about spending 3 days in Antigua, we decided to go to Lake Atitlan, the big lake close by to Antigua. And the way we decided to do that is by taking the chicken bus. There are these big school buses which are outfitted by various paints that the owners might have decided to. And the bus terminal is right beside the Mercado Central. So if you go there, you're gonna have like people like screaming at you, telling you like where you want to go, and so you won't have trouble finding a bus at all. So depending on how many people are sitting on the bus, the driver might load your luggage on the top, or they might bring it inside like they did with us on this first bus here. They just kind of put our luggage on the top rack there, and then we found our seats. The bus do get pretty loaded, so make sure you watch over your luggage to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. People will come on periodically to sell you stuff. The prices are quite reasonable. We also had one time a priest come on to preach to us about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Starting from Antigua, you're gonna need to switch buses about 3 times before you can get to the main town by the lake called Panajachel. So from Antigua, the first exchange is going to be at Acatenango, and this journey probably takes about 30 minutes. I think we paid 10 quetzales per person for this trip, and then the next leg of the journey is going to be the longest. So it goes from Acatenango all the way through the mountains to Los Encuentros. And this second stop here, this journey, I think we got ripped off. So the price that we paid was actually 80 quetzales together, and so that equates to about 40 each. But the other foreigner behind us, they only paid 50, and it looks like the locals, they only pay about 40 for this, for 2 person. So I would suggest that like 50 seems like a reasonable amount for this trip. We definitely got ripped off for 80. And then the next leg of the journey is going to be very short. It's going to be going from Los Encuentros to Solela. And this one, I think we paid the right amount, which is for 2 people, 7.5 quetzales. And finally, the last leg, Solela to Panajachel, is 10 quetzales for 2 people. So to reiterate, the price that you should be paying for each leg per person, first leg here should be 5. Second leg here, it should be 20. Definitely no more than 30, but this is a very long trip. Third leg here is I think 7.5. I guess that's 3 quetzales per person. Let's just round up. And then the last one here is going to be 5 quetzales per person. So in total, the trip from Antigua to Panajachel should cost you 10, 20, 30, let's just say 35 quetzales per person. Once you get dropped off in Panajachel, it's a very short 5-minute walk to the boat launch. It's a public boat launch area, and they're supposed to charge you only like a specific set rate, but the rate that everybody's quoting us is 25 quetzales to go to Santa Cruz, our first location. And later on we found out there was actually 2 different prices, one for foreigners and one for locals. So we just had to cough up the 25 to go because there was basically like no other option to get to that location. Later on we found out that if you just stick to your guns and you know the prices, usually the boat captains are very accommodating, especially if they have a full boat ready to leave, because you can potentially just wait for the next boat. This didn't happen on the first day, but one time a boat captain tried to charge us extra, saying we had additional bags. If that happens to you, just stick to your guns, pay the agreed price when you first got on the boat, and don't let them bully you around. So our accommodation is right on the beach of Santa Cruz, and it's a Airbnb called Hotel Secret Jardin, and it's great. We paid $50 for this room, and it has a really nice view of the volcanoes. I think out of all the little towns around Lake Atitlan, Santa Cruz is the one that has the best view, especially when we did the hike up to the restaurant on the second day. Santa Cruz is a relatively small town on the lake. It's one of the smaller towns actually, and it's one of the least touristic. Most people come here only for a day trip, but we're really glad that we stayed here for 2 nights, because this town really has a lot to offer. First of all, it's got the most amazing view out of any town that we've been to on the lake, and it's got a really amazing restaurant with a really good menu and vista of the surrounding 2 volcanoes. But unfortunately, due to pollution and a lack of wastewater treatment, you definitely do not want to be doing any sort of water activity inside the water. It's quite polluted, because basically what happens around these towns is the center of the town usually is built up like halfway up the mountain, and then anytime it rains, all the wastewater just drains directly into the lake. In fact, if you read up on it, Lake Atitlan has a serious cyanobacteria problem, so it's not even advisable to drink boiled water here. You should definitely drink bottled waters whenever you can, and some of the hotels even advise against using the tap water to brush your teeth. So the restaurant that we decided to go to is called CCAP. It's a non-profit restaurant that trains locals in cooking as well as weaving, and it's got a really reasonable menu. To get up there, you can either hike for about 20 minutes, there it is, the building over there, or you can take a tuk. The tuk-tuk costs about 10 quetzales per person, and will get you up there in about 5 minutes. So here it is, we are at the restaurant, and on the bottom here is where they have their school, as well as a little kind of gift shop. And then once you get up to the second floor is where the real magic begins. The open terrace has a full 360-degree view of the two volcanoes as well as the surrounding town, and it's just beautiful up there. We got 2 plates of breakfast, each cost about 55 quetzales, which is very reasonable for the amount of food and the quality that you're getting. Cafe costs about 20 quetzales, but it's definitely worthwhile to spend like an afternoon here, just taking in the sights and relaxing. After food, we just decided to walk around town. It's like along every alley and streetway there's something interesting to see, and you get greeted with like amazing vistas off in the distance of the 2 different volcanoes. So definitely you can spend a whole afternoon just exploring the town here. There's not much in terms of touristic attractions other than the beautiful vista. You're gonna find like little tiendas or shops that sells like snacks and groceries, but that's about it. We found this kind of the side of somebody's house, and this guy was just selling like ice cream for 2 quetzales, and it was really good. So just be on the lookout for like little signs like that. In the afternoon, we decided to walk along the shoreline and check out the rest of the island. And what we found is that you can actually hike across a mountain to go to the next town over, which is called Chapalito. And we did not end up going all the way to Chapalito because it started to rain, but we did end up in a little cafe slash hotel called Isla Verde. We did not stay here, but we can definitely see like somebody staying here will have like a great time, because it's perched up on the side of the cliff, and the whole like atmosphere of the hotel is very like cool and like spiritual. If you're into yoga and spiritual healing, that type of stuff, this would be a really great place to stay. They had like an amazing kind of a little forested area. There's trees growing out of like some accommodations, and as you climb further up into the cliffside, you're gonna see these little cabins, I guess, which you can reserve. We did not stay here, as I said, but we found out that like some of these cabins are not even locked, so we kind of just climbed over and chilled on the terrace for a bit while admiring the views. In the evening, a good food option is a hostel called La Iguana. It's right by the lakeshore of Santa Cruz, and for 40 quetzales each, you get like a buffet style. And we were lucky we came on a night when it was open mic, and we got to enjoy some free entertainment courtesy of the hostel guests. So one of the highlights for me of this trip is the Mayan sauna. The sauna itself was included in our hotel stay, but if you didn't stay at this hotel, which is Hotel Secret Garden, then you can actually pay 50 quetzales per person to use the sauna, which I think is definitely worth it if you come to Santa Cruz. The sauna itself doesn't get too hot, so you can actually stay here for a very, very long time. The way you work it, you throw water onto the boiler here and it generates steam. But what's different with the normal sauna is that the people will actually put herbs and kind of sage, thyme inside the sauna itself, so it smells like really, really good while you're inside there. And the way they heat it is by burning wood on the back of this little stove, and so that's how the sauna is generated. I will highly recommend you check it out if you're on Santa Cruz. After 2 days of staying on Santa Cruz, we decided to move locations, and so this day was a moving day for us. We packed up everything and went to the boat launch and took a boat from Santa Cruz to San Marcos. The boat costs about 15 quetzales per person, and it's quite quick. At about 15 minutes you arrive in San Marcos. San Marcos is a big difference compared to Santa Cruz. It's much bigger and way more touristic. It's known to be a very spiritual place, but for us, we're not really into that type of stuff, so for us it just kind of seemed like everything is very hippy-dippy like. There's lots of vegan restaurants. My girlfriend actually had a recommendation from her friend to try a cacao ceremony, It's supposed to be between like a meditation and like a cacao tasting. It lasted about 3 hours, and we paid 100 quetzales per person. In my opinion, it's definitely not worth it. But of course, it's my own opinion. But I would not recommend this cacao ceremony. Once the cacao ceremony was over, we decided to head over to our Airbnb. And I think our Airbnb on San Marcos is the best one that we stayed at so far. And it's on the top of the hill, halfway between the bottom of the town and Eagle's Nest. It's newly constructed, so everything's brand new in a very industrial style, which is just the style that we like. And we only paid 20 Canadian per night for the two of us for this room. So I think it's a great bargain. For food options, we went to a highly rated restaurant called Volcano in the town center. A plate of food costs about 45 to 50 quetzales. The next day, we had some time to spare because my girlfriend was working in the morning, so I got some really nice shots of our Airbnb and the surrounding area. We had a really good view, so I can't stress enough, the Airbnb is so good for $20 a night. So after we had some coffee in the morning, we decided to head out. One of the most famous landmarks in San Marcos is a place called Eagle's Nest. It's a yoga retreat, which is really expensive, but even if you don't stay there, you can go there for the community activities as well as the beautiful vistas around this area. If you are not too good with hiking, you can take a tuk-tuk up to the top. It costs between 10 to 15 quetzales one way. And then once they drop you off, you're going to still have to hike a little bit to get to the base camp of Eagle's Nest. So inside there's a main atrium area where there's like swings and hammocks. But the main draw here is the terrace. They have some in-residence cats who just take naps here in the lazy afternoon. And they'll also come up to you to ask you for food, I guess, because foreigners just feed them food. You have a really nice view of the volcanoes, but again, I think the best view is still on Santa Cruz. So definitely check out Santa Cruz if you have the time. What's really great about this place is you can take a yoga class, and the platform they have is just out of this world. It doesn't have any barriers at all. It's like you're on top of the clouds. I didn't get any shots of the yoga platform because it was kind of like not nice. They were doing yoga. I didn't want to intrude on people's privacy. But you can also kind of just chill here on this terrace. Food here is all vegan and it's pretty reasonable for the amount that you pay. But definitely check out Eagle's Nest. For dinner, we decided to buy some meat and groceries. We bought a drum of chicken and cooked taco salad for dinner. I'm not sure if it was the chicken that's gone bad or if it's just me drinking the water, the tap water, but I had a stomach flu from eating the food in this area and had food poisoning. So it might have something to do with the water. The way we did it, we just basically boiled the water. It was only after that we found out that even boiling the water is not enough. It could also have been the chicken, to be honest. So definitely be careful about the food you eat and the water you drink in this area. For the final 2 days of our trip, we decided to go island hopping again, and so we changed accommodations. We took a boat from San Marcos to San Pedro, which is an even bigger town than the previous towns that we stayed in. San Pedro is also kind of like a hostel hotspot. There's lots of hostels in the town. It's very well developed, and there's actually a lot of Israeli and Jewish travelers in San Pedro's. It's really well known for that. So the boat ride cost 10 quetzales. The boat captain tried to charge us 15, saying we have big bags once we arrived. But if that happens to you, again, just stick to your guns. Just say whatever price you agreed upon. $10 is the normal price for this. And then we took a tuk-tuk to our Airbnb. It was 5 quetzales each, but we didn't even have to because later on we found out it was very quick to walk. It's right on the beach. It's called Tipi Sia, It's basically glamping. We actually went to the wrong location first, but yeah, the host has set up the teepees on the beach. There's fully waterproof and you got electricity inside. I think we paid 20 Canadian for one night. So we stayed here 2 nights, and then we were the only person there. There was 3 teepees on this property. You have water access as soon as you walk out the front door, but again, the water is not that clean, so I would not jump in that water. So we decided to walk around the beach, check out some of the docks. The top part of this section here, you actually have to pay to get in, so we didn't bother with that. The waterfront is quite beautiful, and then I found this really amazing cafe that was newly opened. It's called Cafe Panorama, and so we decided to go up to this cafe, which has a really beautiful vista. We took a tuk-tuk because walking up there would have been way too long. I think it was going to take 25 minutes, and I was still kind of nursing a stomach bug. So tuk-tuk cost, I think it was 10 or 15 quetzales per person, and it took us about 10 minutes to get up there. Once you get to that sign, you're gonna hike for about 10 minutes, and then you will arrive at the entrance of Cafe Panorama. There's 2 sections to this cafe. Skip this first section here because the views up top is way better. So go past the front reception area and go up the stairs here, and you're gonna be greeted with an amazing vista. I'll just let the video speak for itself. So here you can see Cafe Panorama. It's all the way perched up on the top of this hill, and so you got really nice views of the whole town. And we were lucky because there was not really foggy or cloudy that day, and so we had a direct view onto the soccer pitch on the bottom of the, like in the middle section of the hill. If we had extra time, we definitely would have kind of gotten tickets here, but you can also watch the game from up there. If you have binoculars, definitely bring them because you can probably see it better from up there. San Pedro is also the town to be in if you want to do any sort of hiking. A famous hike is called the Indian's Nose, and you can book it directly in the town. We didn't actually get to hike here because we already had too much hiking from Antigua, but it's definitely one of the things that you can check out in San Pedro. San Pedro and San Juan are actually connected, so if you are interested after Cafe Panorama, you can start walking down and you can actually walk towards San Juan. It takes about 30 minutes. We didn't manage to go to San Juan on this day because we were quite tired. We just decided to walk down towards our Airbnb by the lake, and we passed by the center of the town. So most of these towns here, the downtown is actually in the middle or top of the mountain. By the lakefront, there's like a touristy area, and then in the middle of the town, in the middle of the mountain will be where the actually locals live. You can also sign up for Spanish classes on any of these small towns. My girlfriend signed up for a class here because she was staying a little bit further than me. And be on the lookout for avocado trees just growing in the middle of the road, so it doesn't belong to anybody, you can just pick it up. A restaurant that I recommend near the touristy area is called Sababa. It's right on the lake shore, and it's got amazing views of the water. It's got 2 kind of levels. If you come a little bit later, you're going to be seated at the back, but we managed to grab a seat right by the waterfront, and it's really good time here. Food prices are a little bit on the pricier side, but it's not too bad. I think this plate costed us 50 or 60 quetzales. It was very filling. I definitely have to recommend this dessert, which is called mucho dulce. It's basically crepes with a lot of sugar and ice cream. The fries are also quite good. We actually came back here again later in the evening because our Airbnb lost power, and so we had no Wi-Fi. Finally, I think it was the last day, and to get back to the airport, you can book a shuttle. They leave at predetermined times in the morning and the afternoon. Do be mindful that you should really try to get there as early as possible. It takes about 3 hours to get to the airport if there's no traffic. But on my journey here, we actually hit a snag, and there was like rainstorm along some of the mountaintops, and one of the roads actually got washed away. So we're waiting for the cleanup crew to clear a section, and I think we're waiting here for like an hour. Luckily, my flight was later in the evening at 1 p.m. So it wasn't too bad, but definitely budget a lot of extra time when you're trying to get back into the city. The prices are about 200 quetzales for a direct shuttle from San Pedro to the airport. But any sort of these small towns will have these connections. The biggest town, Panajachel, will also have a connection to the airport. This concludes the video of a 10-day budget travel guide to Guatemala. So hopefully it's given you some ideas about what you can do and the prices. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And if you have any tips of your own, make sure to leave it in the comment there so other people can benefit. And finally, I'll just leave you with some amazing drone shots that I've taken throughout the trip. So enjoy.